We live in a world filled with distractions, where the pursuit of success, wealth, and personal fulfillment often takes precedence over the things that truly matter. Yet in the midst of all the noise, there is a simple and profound truth that we must hold on to. When we put God first, everything else falls into its rightful place. Consider the very nature of life itself. It is a journey, a quest for purpose. We often find ourselves wandering, seeking meaning in our achievements, our possessions, or the fleeting pleasures that surround us. But these things, while they may provide temporary satisfaction, cannot fulfill the deep hunger within our souls. They cannot offer us the lasting peace that only a relationship with God can provide. When we place God at the center of our lives, we are not merely following a set of rules or obligations. No, we are choosing to align ourselves with a purpose far greater than ourselves. We are choosing to build our lives on a foundation that cannot be shaken by the winds of circumstance or the uncertainties of the world. This is not a life of passivity or resignation. It is a life of active, purposeful devotion. It is a life where our actions, our decisions, and our very desires are shaped by the understanding that there is a higher calling, a divine calling. Now, some may argue that putting God first means sacrificing our dreams, our ambitions, or our desires. But in truth, the opposite is often the case. By placing God first, we gain clarity about what truly matters. We discover that our ambitions are not meant to serve our egos, but to serve a higher purpose. We realize that the most fulfilling success is not measured by accolades or material wealth, but by the peace we experience in knowing that our lives are aligned with divine will. Moreover, putting God first brings a profound sense of order to our lives. It allows us to prioritize what truly matters. It offers perspective on our relationships, our work, and even our personal struggles. When we view these aspects through the lens of God's love and wisdom, we begin to see them not as burdens, but as opportunities to grow, to serve, and to reflect His light in the world. But the decision to put God first is not always easy. It requires courage. It demands that we confront our own pride, our fears, and our insecurities. It challenges us to trust in a vision greater than our own and to relinquish control of our lives into the hands of a Creator who knows what is best for us. And though the road may not always be smooth, it is on this road that we discover true peace, true joy, and true fulfillment. So let us commit today and every day to put God first in our lives. Let us seek His guidance, trust in His plan, and dedicate our hearts and minds to His service. In doing so, we will find that the things of this world, though important, no longer have the power to dominate us. Instead, we will be free to live lives of purpose, passion, and peace, knowing that we are aligned with the eternal, unshakable truth. Life can sometimes feel aimless if we don't have a clear direction. When we place God at the center of our lives, we discover our true purpose. God designed us with intention, and through a relationship with Him, we learn to fulfill the specific roles and tasks He has planned for us. Purpose isn't something we create for ourselves, it is something revealed through our connection with the Creator. In a world where we are often pulled in different directions, putting God first brings clarity. When we prioritize God, we gain direction and focus. All other aspects of our lives, relationships, work, personal goals fall into their rightful place. This doesn't mean that life will be perfect, but it ensures that we are navigating life with a clear compass, guided by God's wisdom. True fulfillment isn't found in material things, achievements, or recognition. It's found in aligning our desires and actions with God's will. When we seek God first, we experience a deep inner peace, knowing we are living according to the purpose He has designed for us. This fulfillment surpasses any earthly success, as it resonates with our spiritual nature and eternal purpose. Many people chase after success, wealth, fame, or power, believing these will bring contentment. However, success without God is hollow. It may bring temporary satisfaction, but it doesn't fulfill the soul's deepest needs. True success is not measured by external accolades, but by living in harmony with God's purpose and reflecting His love and wisdom in the world. The peace that comes from putting God first is unlike any peace the world offers. While worldly peace is often fleeting, grounded in circumstances or external conditions, God's peace transcends those things. It remains steady, even in the midst of trials. When we center our lives around God, we experience a peace that isn't dependent on our external world, but on His eternal presence. Trusting God isn't always easy, but it brings clarity. When we surrender our worries and doubts to Him, He provides us with a clear path forward. This clarity isn't always immediate or obvious, but by trusting in God's timing and wisdom, we can navigate our decisions with confidence. Trust in God frees us from the confusion of relying solely on our own understanding. Material wealth can buy comfort, but it cannot buy happiness, purpose, or peace. Spiritual wealth, on the other hand, is priceless. It includes love, peace, joy, and contentment that cannot be taken away. When we put God first, we begin to value spiritual treasures more than material ones, realizing that true wealth lies in our relationship with Him. The wisdom of the world can be useful, but it is often limited and influenced by human flaws. God's guidance, however, is perfect and unchanging. When we seek His wisdom through prayer, scripture, and discernment, we gain insight that goes beyond human understanding. God's guidance helps us navigate life's challenges and gives us the tools to make decisions that lead to true success and peace. When God is at the center of our lives, our perspective shifts. We begin to see the world through His eyes, understanding that life is more than just personal success and worldly achievements. We become more focused on serving others, reflecting God's love, and living in accordance with His values. This shift in perspective can make even difficult situations seem manageable because we trust that God is in control. Our own plans and dreams may be filled with good intentions, but God's plan for our lives is infinitely greater. Sometimes our personal desires may not align with His, and it's easy to become frustrated. But by trusting in God's plan, we acknowledge that He sees the bigger picture, what is truly best for us. His plan often leads us to places we never imagined, and it always works out for our ultimate good and His glory. When we seek God first, we align ourselves with His will, and everything else naturally falls into place. God promises that if we prioritize Him, He will take care of the other details of our lives. This doesn't mean everything will be easy or perfect, but we can trust that, with God first, our lives will have the right balance and direction. Joy comes not from external circumstances, but from a deep, abiding relationship with God. When we commit ourselves to Him, our hearts overflow with joy that transcends life's challenges. This joy isn't dependent on possessions or achievements, but on the fulfillment of knowing we are loved and guided by our Creator. Life is not just a destination, but a journey. Along the way, we face challenges, joys, and uncertainties. By making God the path we follow, we find peace and purpose in each step. God's guidance ensures that no matter where we go, we are always moving closer to the ultimate fulfillment of His plan for us. Many people spend years trying to figure out their life's purpose. But when we put God first, He reveals our true purpose. It's not about what we think we should be doing, it's about understanding the unique way God has designed us to contribute to His greater plan. Through His guidance, we realize our place in the world. No matter how much we accumulate or achieve in life, there is an emptiness that cannot be filled by material things. Only God's love has the power to fill that void. When we experience His unconditional love, It provides a sense of completeness that worldly possessions or achievements simply cannot offer. Life is full of uncertainty, and it's easy to become anxious or fearful. But trusting in God during these uncertain times provides peace. He is constant, even when everything else is shifting. By relying on His faithfulness, we can face life's unknowns with confidence, knowing that God is guiding us. When we place God first, our lives fall into a divine order. Without Him, we often experience chaos or confusion. But when we follow God's principles and trust in His plan, we experience a sense of harmony in all aspects of our lives, our work, relationships, and even our personal struggles. True success isn't measured by wealth, status, or accomplishments alone. It's measured by our relationship with God. He is the foundation of everything that lasts. When we build our lives on Him, we experience a success that is not only meaningful in this life, but eternal in its impact. The satisfaction the world offers is fleeting. Material success, pleasure, and status can only bring temporary happiness, but God's peace is eternal. It endures through trials and challenges, and it fills us with a sense of purpose and contentment that outlasts anything the world has to offer. When we put God first in our lives, our relationships with others are transformed. We begin to approach our interactions with love, humility, and forgiveness. God teaches us to serve others selflessly, and through His example we can build stronger, more meaningful connections. Our relationships become not just about what we receive, but about what we can give to others in His name. In a world that often values personal success and accolades, it's important to remember that our ultimate purpose goes beyond individual achievement. Our higher calling is to serve God and others. When we prioritize this calling, everything we do becomes an act of devotion, transforming everyday tasks into meaningful expressions of faith. We often rely on our own knowledge, experiences, and understanding to make decisions, but God's wisdom is far beyond ours. His perspective is infinite, while ours is limited. Trusting in God's wisdom allows us to make decisions that are in alignment with His greater plan for our lives, even when we don't fully understand the reasons behind them. When God is our priority, our desires begin to shift. We no longer seek things based on fleeting impulses or selfish motives. Instead, we align our desires with God's will for our lives, gaining clarity about what truly matters and how we can best serve His purpose. This helps us pursue what is truly fulfilling and meaningful. The world is filled with noise, stress, and chaos, but God's peace transcends all of that. His peace doesn't depend on external circumstances. It's a peace that comes from knowing He is in control. When we place God first, we can experience this peace even in the midst of life's most challenging times. Without God, life can feel directionless or uncertain, but with God at the center, we live with purpose and intention. Every decision, action, and relationship is guided by a desire to fulfill God's will. This purpose gives our lives meaning and drives us to live with passion, serving God and others. Many of us focus on developing skills and talents for personal gain, but when we seek God first, we discover the strengths He has equipped us with for His purpose. God knows our true potential, and when we surrender to His will, He helps us realize and use those strengths in ways that honor Him and benefit others. Life often brings challenges, pain, and hardship. But when we put God first, we trust that He can redeem even the most difficult circumstances. God has the power to transform our struggles into opportunities for growth, healing, and greater understanding. His redemptive power is greater than any difficulty we face. The world encourages us to seek fame, recognition, and material wealth. But when we live for God, we are freed from this pursuit of vanity. We no longer measure success by external standards, but by how closely we are following God's calling. This liberation allows us to focus on what truly matters, living a life of purpose and service to others. Life's challenges can feel overwhelming, but when we put God first, we receive His strength to face them. We don't rely on our own limited abilities, but draw on the power and resilience that come from God. With His strength, we can face any trial, knowing that He is always with us, providing support and encouragement. In a society that often values power, status, and self-promotion, God calls us to a different standard. True greatness is not found in how high we rise, but in how humbly we submit to God. By acknowledging our dependence on Him and serving others selflessly, we embody the true nature of greatness as defined by God's kingdom. Life is filled with trials, and in those moments of difficulty, God's love is our refuge. No matter how hard life becomes, His love is a constant source of comfort, strength, and peace. By trusting in His love, we can weather any storm, knowing that He is always with us and working for our good. It's natural to have ambitions and goals, but when we align them with God's greater plan, they take on a deeper meaning. Instead of striving solely for personal gain, we seek to fulfill God's purposes for us. Aligning our ambitions with His will leads to a more fulfilling and impactful life, as we contribute to something far greater than ourselves. Life is uncertain, and fear of the unknown can hold us back. But when we put our faith in God, we are empowered with courage. Faith gives us the confidence to step into the unknown, knowing that God's plans for us are good, and that He will guide us through whatever challenges we may face. We all have desires, but often these desires are fleeting or misdirected. When we focus on God first, we align our desires with His will. Through this, we begin to experience true fulfillment. As we seek His kingdom and righteousness, God fulfills the deepest longings of our hearts, far beyond anything the world can offer. The things of this world are temporary, but when we put God first, we begin to view life with an eternal perspective. Our decisions, actions, and goals shift as we realize that the most important things are not the fleeting achievements or possessions, but our relationship with God and the legacy we leave for His kingdom. We may have our own plans and ideas about where life should take us, but God's path is always the best one. He knows what is truly good for us, and by letting Him lead, we step into the fullness of His plan for our lives. Following God's lead brings peace and direction, as His ways are higher and more trustworthy than our own. Life is full of decisions, big and small. The best decisions are those that align with God's purpose for our lives. By seeking His guidance, we ensure that our choices lead us toward His plan, bringing about results that are not only good for us, but for the greater good of those around us. In times of stress or turmoil, we often search for peace in external circumstances. However, God's presence is the true source of peace. When we make space for God in our lives, His presence fills us with a peace that surpasses understanding, calming our hearts even when the world around us is in chaos. True fulfillment is not found in fame, fortune, or external success, but in putting God first. When we seek God's kingdom above all else, we find true success not as the world defines it, but as God does. This fulfillment comes from knowing we are living according to God's purpose and experiencing His peace and joy in our daily lives. Seeking God isn't just for the big decisions in life, it's for every part of our day-to-day existence. Whether we are working, spending time with family, or facing challenges, seeking God in everything we do allows us to honor Him and stay aligned with His will. God cares about every detail of our lives and invites us to invite Him into every aspect. Often we treat God as one aspect of our lives among many, something we turn to in times of need or on Sundays. However, to truly live for God, He must be the center of everything we do. Every decision, action, and relationships should revolve around him. When we make God the focal point, our entire life takes on new meaning and purpose. Without God, life can feel meaningless, even if we achieve great things. It is through a relationship with God that we find true meaning in our existence. When we understand that we are created for His purpose and that we are loved unconditionally by Him, every moment becomes significant. Life without God is like a story without an author. Only with Him can we discover the full beauty of our existence. Time is fleeting, and the choices we make now determine the direction of our lives. Making God your priority isn't something to delay, it's something to do today. Each moment is an opportunity to draw closer to Him, align with His will, and live a life of eternal significance. The longer we wait to make God our priority, the more we risk missing the richness of the life He has for us. Dreams and ambitions are natural, but without God at the center, they can become self-centered or shallow. When we place God first, our dreams are shaped by His purpose. We begin to desire what He desires for us, and our goals align with His plan, making our dreams not only more fulfilling but eternally impactful. Often putting God first is perceived as a sacrifice, as though we must give up things that bring us joy. However, the truth is that when we put God first, we gain far more than we give up. We gain peace, purpose, fulfillment, and eternal rewards. God doesn't take away from us. He enriches us in ways the world cannot. Struggles are an inevitable part of life, but they don't have to be viewed negatively. Each difficulty is an opportunity to deepen our trust in God. When we face challenges, we can lean on God for strength, wisdom, and peace. These struggles allow us to grow spiritually, developing resilience and a deeper dependence on God's provision and care. Faith is the cornerstone of the Christian life. Without faith in God, other virtues such as love, humility, patience, and kindness would be impossible to maintain. It is through faith that we tap into God's grace and power, enabling us to live in accordance with His will and reflect His character in our lives. Purpose is one of the greatest desires of the human heart. When we put God first, He reveals our true purpose, why we are here, what we are meant to do, and how we can serve others. This purpose is far more meaningful than anything we could create for ourselves, and it brings a sense of fulfillment that transcends personal achievement. There will be times in life when we don't understand why things are happening the way they are. It's in these moments that we must trust in the truth that God's plan is always perfect. Even when we can't see the bigger picture, we can trust that God is working all things together for our good and His glory. Our role is to trust and follow, knowing that His plan is always for our best. A life without God can often feel lost or aimless. We may seek direction from many sources, but ultimately true direction comes from God. He is the one who created us with a purpose, and only by aligning our lives with His guidance can we find true meaning and fulfillment. Without God, we are like a ship without a rudder, drifting aimlessly. We often find ourselves rushing or feeling impatient when things don't happen according to our timeline. However, when we trust in God and put Him first, we learn that His timing is always perfect. He sees the bigger picture and knows exactly when to open doors and when to close them. Trusting in His timing allows us to have peace, knowing that He is in control. No one is perfect, and we all face moments of temptation and struggle. But when we put God first, His grace empowers us to overcome sin. His grace is not just for forgiveness, but for transformation. With His help, we can resist temptation, grow in righteousness, and live in a way that reflects His love and holiness. To truly put God first is not a one-time decision, but a daily act of surrender. Each day we must choose to lay down our own desires and align our will with His. It's a conscious decision to trust Him, seek His will, and follow His lead. This daily surrender strengthens our faith and brings us closer to God. Peace is something everyone desires, but it doesn't come from external circumstances. True peace comes from trusting God completely, even in difficult situations. When we surrender our fears, worries, and anxieties to Him, we experience the peace that only He can provide, peace that remains even in the midst of life's challenges. The love of the world can be fickle and conditional, based on performance or circumstances. But God's love is unconditional and unchanging. No matter what we've done or what we go through, His love for us remains constant. This unwavering love gives us security, knowing that we are always accepted and valued by our Creator. The more we put God first, the more we reflect His character. As we seek to follow His ways, we are transformed into His likeness. This transformation is gradual but profound as we grow in love, humility, patience, and kindness. By putting God at the center of our lives, we become more like Christ and begin to reflect His goodness in all we do. Life can be confusing and full of uncertainties, but God's Word provides clarity and direction. His teachings in the Bible are a lamp to guide our steps, showing us the way to live according to His will. When we prioritize His Word, we receive the wisdom and insight we need to navigate life with confidence and faith. Happiness often depends on circumstances, what happens in a given moment or season of life, but true joy, the kind that lasts, comes from God. When we put Him first, we experience a joy that is not dependent on external conditions, but is rooted in our relationship with Him. This joy is enduring and can fill our hearts, even in times of hardship. When we understand the depth of God's love for us, it compels us to love others. His love fills us to overflowing, and we can't help but share it with those around us. Putting God first in our lives changes the way we see and treat others, leading us to serve, encourage, and uplift those we encounter, just as God has done for us. We often have our own plans for what we want in life, where we want to go, what we want to do. But God's plan is always better. He knows what we truly need and how to guide us to places that will fulfill His purpose for us. When we surrender our plans to Him, we open ourselves up to a life that is more. We all have weaknesses, flaws, and moments of struggle, but God's grace is more than enough to sustain us. When we acknowledge our limitations and rely on His strength, His grace empowers us to overcome challenges and grow stronger in Him. Our weaknesses are not a barrier to His love, they are an opportunity for His power to be made perfect. The promises of God are a firm foundation we can stand on, no matter what life throws our way. His promises are unbreakable, and they never fail. When we put God first, we anchor our lives to these promises, knowing that He will fulfill everything He has said. This gives us confidence and hope in every season of life. We often have our own ideas of what success, happiness, and fulfillment should look like, but God's will is far better than anything we can imagine. His plans are always for our good, and when we surrender our desires to Him, we discover that His purpose for us is infinitely more fulfilling and meaningful than any of our own ambitions. When we make God the priority in our lives, our hearts align with His heart. We begin to care about what He cares about, love what He loves, and seek to do what He desires. This alignment transforms our values, priorities, and actions, making us more attuned to His will and more effective in serving others. When life becomes overwhelming, God's peace is the refuge we can turn to. It's not a peace that depends on our circumstances, but a peace that comes from knowing God is in control. In moments of trouble, His peace guards our hearts and minds, giving us rest and calm, even when everything around us seems chaotic. Life presents many challenges that can weaken our resolve and test our faith. But when we put God first, He strengthens us. Our resolve to remain faithful and true to His calling becomes firm because we are rooted in His strength and guidance. We can persevere through trials, knowing that God is with us every step of the way. When God calls us to a task, He doesn't leave us to do it on our own. He equips us with everything we need to fulfill His purpose. Whether it's wisdom, strength, or provision, God gives us the tools to carry out His work. When we put Him first, we trust that He will provide what we need at the right time. The love of God is not just something we experience, it's something that transforms us from the inside out. His love changes the way we think, feel, and act. When we put God first in our lives, His love works in us to produce Christ-like character and attitudes that reflect His grace, kindness, and compassion. The world defines success in terms of achievements, wealth, and status. But true success is found in living according to God's will. When we make God the priority in our lives and follow His direction, we experience a success that is eternal. Our lives become a testimony to His faithfulness, and we find true fulfillment in knowing that we are living for His glory.